This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
"6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Mario Vijayawardena. The headlines. The Director General of Health says that the ministry has stocks for the second dose of vaccines. State officials and doctors have agreed to conduct the future vaccination program in the Colombo district successfully. The age for the employment of children for labour has been increased from 14 to 16. Free internet facilities to study for children through e-Taksalava. The prices of bread will not be increased. The US President to urge the West to form an alliance against China. The Health Services Director General Dr. Asela Gunawardena says that the second dose of the Sinopharm and Sputnik V vaccines have been received at the Health Ministry. At present, Sinopharm vaccines have been given to more than 1.5 million people. He emphasized that the ministry has 1.5 million additional and 50,000 vaccines for the second dose. He made these remarks at a meeting held at the Health Ministry today. The state officials and doctors have agreed to conduct the future vaccination program in the Colombo district successfully. A problematic situation was created between doctors and state officials during the last few days due to the misunderstanding in relation to the vaccination program in the Colombo district. A special discussion was held today under the patronage of Minister Pavitra Vanniyarachi with several sections to provide solutions to this issue. As a result of this discussion, both parties have agreed to continue the vaccination program successfully. The age limit for child labour has been increased up to 16 years of age. The limit was increased, issuing a communiqué with the National Child Protection Authority stating that children who are between 16 and 18 years of age could be used only for non-dangerous employment activities which do not affect their life and health. Children cannot be employed for unprotected and night service employment. A 5-year imprisonment will be imposed as a punishment to parents who use their children to beg, and action will be taken against child racketeers. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Scan the Lanka QR code and make your payments with People's Pay mobile payment app from People's Bank.
The chairman of the Bakery Owners Association, N.K. Jayawardena, says that although the fuel prices have increased, the prices of bread will not be increased, but the prices of other bakery products will be increased. A program will be accelerated to provide drinking water facilities to low-income families. This program will be implemented under the guidance of Minister Chamal Rajapaksa. Minister Douglas Devananda says that concessions will be provided to the fisheries sectors affected by the fire of the Express Pearl vessel. Measures will be taken to provide relief at a priority level after estimating the loss incurred. The minister also stated that discussions will be held with the President and the Prime Minister to provide concessions for the fisheries sectors facing difficulties due to the increase of fuel prices. He made these remarks at a discussion held with the representatives of regional fisheries associations of Negombo. The farmers in the Mahaweli Development Zone have been directed to use organic fertilizer for their cultivation activities. The Vallava Mahaweli agricultural sector has stated that paddy and other crops have been cultivated on 22 hectares of land with the use of organic fertilizer. The agricultural manager of the Vallava Mahaweli Zone, R.D. Chetana Krishanti, said that the use of chemical fertilizer has been reduced. That's local news.
Nobody tells time like this. So why do you still pay with cash when you have People's Pay mobile app from People's Bank? Scan the Lanka QR code and make your payments with People's Pay mobile payment app from People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The government pays attention to provide online studies free from any internet fee through the e-Taksalava program for students of 200 schools from the 21st of next month. The aim of this move is to introduce a proper method minimizing the existing difficulties. Minister Namal Rajapaksa has advised relevant authorities to take speedy measures in this regard at a meeting held at the Temple Trees yesterday. It was also discussed to maintain the Rupavahini channel and the radio service for children's education. He also called for measures to be implemented and to implement this process successfully by utilizing the infrastructure facilities of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, the ITN and the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And now in Watchlight, a lecturer of the medical faculty of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, psychologist Yashoda Rohanachandra says that the people should pay their attention to maintain mental health of children during the travel restriction period. She said that children should be directed to external activities and exercises at every possible instance. She also emphasized that parents should always spend their time with their children. That came to you in Watchlight. And now in world news headlines, the US president to urge the West to form alliance against China. End of England's COVID lockdown could be delayed by 1 month. Hong Kong activist Agnes Chow released from prison. US President Joe Biden is to urge Western countries to counter China's growing influence at the second day of the G7 summit. At the meeting in Britain, President Biden is expected to call for a new alliance to rival Beijing's spending on infrastructure in developing countries. The US and its allies accuse China of forced labor and other human rights abuses in Xinjiang province. G7 leaders will also commit to a new plan to stop future pandemics. The measures include cutting the time needed to develop vaccines and treatments for COVID-19 to under 100 days. The government is considering delaying the lifting of England's remaining COVID restrictions by up to 4 weeks, sources have told the BBC. The final stage of lifting the lockdown, originally planned to take place no earlier than 21st of June, would see all legal limits on social contact removed. It comes amid growing concern over rapidly increasing cases and the higher transmittability of the Delta variant. Downing Street sources emphasize that no final decision has been made yet. Data is still being examined ahead of a final announcement scheduled for Monday. Hong Kong pro-democracy activist Agnes Chow has been released from prison after serving her term for her role in a June 2019 protest. Chow was jailed for 10 months in December last year for crimes including inciting citizens to take part in an unauthorized assembly. She was freed this morning. Scores of reporters were waiting as she emerged from a prison vehicle, but she left without answering their questions. Chow was sent to jail for serious offences. Her term appears to have been reduced for good behaviour. And now the main points of the world news segment once again. The US president to urge the West to form alliance against China. End of England's COVID lockdown could be delayed by 1 month. Hong Kong activist Agnes Chow released from prison. That was world news, and now in development news, the government has decided to establish oxygen production centres in 15 hospitals in the island speedily. It is expected to expend 1,300 million rupees. This program will be implemented under the aid assistance of the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. These centres will be established in hospitals at Teldaniya, Rikiligaskanda, Hambantota, Badulla, Puttalama and Krunagala. That came to you in development news, and now in sports news. Today is the third day of the second test match played between England and New Zealand. New Zealand has scored 326 runs for 5 wickets. Meanwhile, the second edition of the Lanka Premier League LPL will go ahead as planned from July 30th to August 22nd, Sri Lanka cricket has confirmed, dispelling fears that the tournament may have to be postponed in the light of the rising coronavirus cases in the country. Quote, SLC wishes to reiterate that the second edition of the Lanka Premier League LPL will be held during July and August 2021 as earlier announced, unquote, the board said in a statement. That was sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The chairman of the BOI, Sanjay Mohotala, says that Sri Lanka is looking at $3 to $5 billion as additional export revenue through rubber products, agri and food processing, and the export of fisheries at the Economic Forum, which concluded yesterday. Top tyre manufacturers have already taken root in Sri Lanka, along with tyre exports and vibrant rubber-based products manufacturing close to $1 billion worth exports today.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
A special telephone number has been introduced to forward the problems of customers who have not received loan concessions from banks. The central bank has informed the licensed commercial banks and other banks to provide concessions to customers who are facing many difficulties due to the third wave of the coronavirus. If there is any problem relevant to this issue, one can dial 0112 477 966 and forward their grievances.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says showers or thunderstorms will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Gala and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy falls above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamuwa province and in the Gala, Mathura, Nuwara and Kandy districts. Showers or thunderstorms may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Batticaloa and Ampara districts during the evening or night. Wind speeds will be 30 to 40 kilometers per hour in the western slopes of the central hills, in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota and the Trincomalee districts. Wind speeds can increase up to 50 kilometers per hour at times in these areas.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And now the headlines of this news broadcast once again. The Director General of Health says that the ministry has stocks for the second dose of vaccines. State officials and doctors have agreed to conduct the future vaccination program in the Colombo district successfully. The employment of children for labour has been increased from 14 to 16 years of age. Free internet facilities to study for children through e-Taksalava. The prices of bread will not be increased. The US President to urge the West to form an alliance against China. That concludes this news broadcast, and now it's back to Jay Yogaraj on the other side. Over to you, Yoga.